Okay, let's go over today's notes. Okay, 5.1 is on what we call consumer and producer surplus. Okay, so when we look at a supply and demand curve, okay, the demand usually looks something like this. We'll call this D of X. And the supply looks something like this. We'll call this S of X. Okay, supply and demand. And right here is the equilibrium point. Okay. And so the way that we look at this is we say that this is kind of like the bargaining point, right? If you are bargaining for, you know, in the market, right? If you go to, you know, a place where you can actually bargain in a market, maybe like a swap meet, or you know, you go to another country and you can bargain with people, and you know, you say, well, you know, I'll take, you know, 3 cantaloupes. Okay, so this is the units, and then for 3 cantaloupes, I'm gonna take those for $1 each, right? So for maybe $3. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Thank you, Oscar. Okay. So, okay. So, um, so yeah. So for 3 cantaloupes, maybe $3, right? But if you're only buying 1 cantaloupe, let's say that you're buying 1 cantaloupe, you don't have as much bargaining position, right? Because you know you're like if at 1 cantaloupe, you know, the guy is gonna want, right? So for three cantaloupes, let's say that it's $1. It's $1 each. It's $1 for each cantaloupe. That's what this is. Okay, it's $1 for each cantaloupe, so it ends up costing you $3. But if you only buy 1, then the guy's gonna want $2 per cantaloupe, right? So this would be like $2 for 1, or $3 for 2, right? If I'm only selling 1, then okay, then right, and you're willing to pay. This is what you're willing to pay. So okay, so I walk into the market and I'm willing to pay $2 for 1. That's what my demand curve says. It says I'm willing to pay $2 for 1. Okay, or I'm willing. Oh, this is for 3. Sorry. Okay, or I'm willing to pay $3 for 3, or $1 a piece. Okay, and so basically I'm getting a much better deal, right? If I buy more items than if I buy less. Okay, and that's our demand curve. Okay, the supply curve kind of works in reverse. Okay, and says, look, if the demand is low, is too low, then or if demand is high, okay, and supply is low, we get, you know, we don't have the items to sell, basically. Okay, you know, this is what we call scarcity. When we have too much demand and too low supply. Okay, but there is an equilibrium point that comes out here for supply. Okay, and so this is the difference. Okay, so there is another difference here. Okay, between. Okay, let's look over here. Okay, so I don't really need. Let's go over here to 5. Okay, let's say that this is 5. Oops, bring that back. Okay, let's say this is 5 cantaloupes. Say I don't really need 5 cantaloupes. Okay, I'm happy with either, 1 or 3. I don't need 5. The demand is very low for 5. Okay, and supply is very high. Okay, and so there's a difference here between what is demanded and what's being supplied. If supply is high and demand is low, then then the customer has more power. If demand is high and supply is low, then the seller has more of the power. Okay, and we're looking for this equilibrium point here, this kind of sweet spot where the two meet. Okay, so for example, if we were to look at, okay, say here, okay, there's a difference between what the seller would actually sell at versus, versus what the seller has actually agreed to sell. So so that's called producer surplus. There's a surplus in what's being produced, therefore, it's offset. Okay, so let's first talk about the consumer surplus, and maybe the producer surplus will make a little bit more sense as we go along. Okay, so the way that we look at the producer surplus or consumer surplus is we look at the equilibrium point, which again is right here. This is the equilibrium point. Okay, that's where demand and supply meet. Okay, and meets at demand and supply meet there. Okay, so we actually take the area, the area of this, and the area is representative, of the total cost. Okay, the total cost here is the area. Okay, think of it as 3 times 1. Well, what's 3 times 1? Well, isn't that the $3 that we got here? So 3 cantaloupe. I don't know why I chose cantaloupe, but I have 3 cantaloupe at $1 a piece is equal to 3 times 1, which is $3. This is what's actually being paid. Okay, that's what's actually being paid out. Okay, if the guy lowers it to $1 a piece, the price, if the guy lowers his price to $1 a piece, then I'm gonna walk away with 3 cantaloupes. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, that's fine. Okay, so what's the surplus? The surplus is the difference between what I would be willing to pay and what I actually do pay. Okay, so, and that's this area here. We call this area in yellow, we call that the consumer surplus. Okay, so this guy here is the consumer surplus. Okay, and basically the consumer surplus is the difference between what I would be willing to pay. I shouldn't say I, but the consumer would be willing to pay and what is actually paid. Okay, so it's basically the yellow area. Okay, it's basically the area under the curve. Okay, this total area in the curve. Okay, from say 0 to 3. Okay, it's the total area on the curve minus the rectangle. Okay, so it's the total area under the curve minus the rectangle, because there is overlap here. You could say this is the total area in the curve, right? So the yellow is the total area in the curve, but then I subtract out the rectangle, then the top part is the consumer surplus. Okay, it's the amount of it's the total amount of money that I would have been willing to pay. However, it's not the total amount of money that I actually walk away paying because of where the supply and demand curves meet. Okay, I'm actually getting a better deal. Okay. Do we have domain restrictions? Yeah, it's 0, because I'm not gonna, it's 0 to infinity basically. So it's 0 until, for the consumer surplus, it's 0 until I hit what do I call this? I'm gonna get rid of this. This is making me not happy. I'm gonna get rid of my 5 scenario. I don't like that. Get rid of this. I don't like that. Okay. Oops. Oopsies. Okay. Because we're really just going to talk about what happens all in this area here. Okay. So, so that's the consumer surplus. So basically the domain is just 0 to the equilibrium point. How many units are in the equilibrium point? That's it. That's the domain. Okay. So how are we going to find the area under the curve? Okay. Well, we have a demand curve, right? So we're going to say that this area under the whole curve, this here, the top of the curve here is d of x. So the consumer surplus is being designated by the demand curve. It's being restricted by the demand curve. Okay. So we're going to integrate the demand curve, and then we're going to subtract off the area of the rectangle to get the surplus. Okay, so maybe I'll highlight this. This is the surplus, okay, in red. Okay, that's the surplus. The blue is what we actually end up paying. Okay, that area represents the $3 for 3. Okay, that's the total monies for 3. Okay, and so the consumer surplus is equal to the integral from 0 to, we'll say, Q. Okay, Q will be the quantity demanded. Okay. Dx, d of x dx minus, okay, Q, quantity demanded, times P, which is the price. Okay, the quantity times the price will be, maybe I'll put that in blue just to kind of color code it. Okay, minus the blue, which is Q times P. Okay, that's the rectangle. Okay. So basically what we're looking at is we're looking at the area under this curve, right? And then we're cutting out this guy, and we end up with just the top part. Okay, we end up with the total area under the curve minus, it's kind of like we get a big hole. Okay, that's really what we end up getting here is, okay, as I end up with this stuff here at the top. Okay, so we kind of poke a hole in the entire area under the curve. Okay, we get the entire area under the curve. This is the area under the curve. Okay, yeah, QP is the rectangle, exactly. Q times P. Q being quantity. Let me label this. Q being quantity and P being price. Okay, so Q times P is the area, right? Kind of think of it as like length times width. Okay, so this is the area under the curve. Minus the area of the rectangle. Okay. Okay, and this is going to be the difference between what? This is the difference between what was willing to be paid and what is actually paid. Okay, so okay, so again, once supply and demand are met, okay, not good curve at this equilibrium point, then I know that's the bar. That's the lowest the seller is willing to go for the highest number of items. Okay. So they're not willing to go any further than that. Okay, what about let's look at producer surplus here. Okay. So producer surplus is kind of the opposite. Okay. We're going to still look at the same scenario. Okay. And I'm gonna draw the graph here. Okay, so we have our demand curve looking like that. We have our supply curve looking like that. So this is S of X. This is D of X. And then I'm gonna, okay, if I'm only gonna buy one cantaloupe, then once again, right, I'm like, hey, the price is gonna have to be higher. Okay, it's gonna be $2 per cantaloupe. Okay, instead, if I buy more than one, he's going to cut me a deal. And I'm going to end up, okay, walking away with with $1 per cantaloupe for 3 cantaloupes. The more I buy, okay, the better deal I get. However, up to a point, okay, up to a point. Okay, so what is the producer surplus? Well, the producer surplus goes back to this guy, but it's the difference between what I actually paid versus what the guy was willing to sell at. Okay, the price that he was willing to sell at. So, okay, he was actually willing to go lower. I just didn't know it. Okay, and so it's this area. Oops. Let's go back. This area is the producer surplus. Okay, so it's actually not. It's the area above it, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so this area is underneath the curve. This is the area under the curve. Okay, so there's the area under the curve. And this is the actual area that I'm interested in. I'm interested in this area here. This is called the producer surplus. Okay. Okay, that's the producer surplus. Okay, that's the difference between what I actually end up on selling, what is actually end up being sold at versus, okay, versus what he was actually willing to take, the money that he was willing to take. Okay, so this is the difference. Between what he actually paid and what the producer was willing to take. Okay, so he was willing to take a lower amount. Okay, but we bargained. He bargained for higher, and we bargained for lower. So we needed our cantaloupe. We needed our cantaloupe, and he's like, "Oh no, for one, it's gonna be $2." When actually he was lying to us. He would have actually taken 50 cents for one. I mean, he needs to sell these things. Okay, but he's like, no. Okay, I was willing to pay $2 for one. I was willing to pay $2 for one. He was willing to sell me one for 50 cents. But I didn't know that going in, right? I didn't know that going in, that he was willing to sell me one cantaloupe for 50 cents. How was I supposed to know? Okay, he wants to get the most amount of money for his cantaloupe, and I want to pay the least amount. And so, okay, so we're gonna bargain, and I'm gonna say, okay, well, how much for 3? And then he's gonna be like, oh, okay, well, for 3, I'll sell you for $1 each. Okay, I was willing to pay $2. Okay, so because I needed one, and I don't necessarily need 3, but I definitely needed one to survive. Okay, since the demand was high, I was willing to pay more. Okay, but I'm like, okay, well, demand goes down because I don't need as many. Okay, demand is going to go down. Supply is going to go up, and so we have to bargain. We have to find that happy medium. Okay, notice that this happens a lot with things that you only need one of. notice that you don't have much bargaining power on things that you need one of, right? Like say you feel like you need an iPhone, right? You don't have any much bargaining power unless you say, well, I'm going to go to Samsung or I'm going to go to Motorola or something like that. And you have more of a bargaining power. But if you're like, I want a iPhone, you don't have much bargaining power at all. Okay. Thank you for that free advertisement. Okay. Do you work for Verizon, Oscar? Nothing in this world is ever free. Just remember that. Okay. So make that a takeaway here. It's not free. Okay. There's always a catch. Keep that in mind. Okay. So this is the difference between what we actually paid and what the producer is willing to take. Okay. So we're looking for the producer surplus on this one. So looking at this is going to be the difference between the rectangle and the yellow amount. Okay, the yellow is the area under S of X. So we're going to say that the producer surplus is equal to okay, Q times P. That's what we actually paid. Okay, this is what we actually paid. Okay, that's how much money the guy ended up walking away. He ended up walking away with three of my dollars. Okay, it's three of my dollars. Okay, minus. Okay, the area under the curve. Okay, I'll put this in yellow. Okay, minus the area under the curve. Okay, this here. Okay, is 0 to Q. Okay, the quantity that we arrived at by bargaining times, and this is now S of X dx. Okay, that's the producer surplus. This is what we actually paid minus the price the supplier was willing to take. Okay, so there's a difference between what I was willing to pay and what he's willing to take. And we have to meet in the middle. Okay, somehow we got to bargain for the best, for the most advantageous on both sides. Okay, so let's do an example of this. Okay, number one. Find the consumer surplus of 2 sketchbooks okay, for the demand curve d of x is equal to x minus 6 squared. Okay, x minus 6 squared. Okay, so find the consumer surplus of 2 sketchbooks. Okay, 2 sketchbooks. Okay, so yeah, So here's what this function looks like, the demand curve. Okay. So demand curve looks like this. If I only buy one sketchbook, I'm willing to pay 25 bucks for one. Okay. If I absolutely have to have one, okay, then I have less power. Okay. Less purchasing power. Okay, but if I buy two, okay, okay. Are you guys quite finished with the with the? Can you guys DM each other in class? Are you allowed? Do I have that set where you can privately chat to someone else in the class? I don't know. Just wondering. Okay, what about two? If I plug in two here, okay, D of two. Yes, you can. Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, yeah, just talk to each other. Okay. Okay, so 2 minus 6 squared is negative 4 squared, which is 16. So at 2, okay, if I buy 2 sketchbooks, okay, I pay a total of $16 for each of them, right? So $16 for each of them. Okay, as opposed to buying one, I'm willing to buy one at 25. I'm willing to walk into Staples and say, hey, you know what? I need one. I'm desperate for one. And so I will spend up to $25. After $25, forget it. I'm walking out of there. Too expensive. Okay. But then I see on the table that there's a package of 2. Okay, maybe I can use 2. Okay, maybe I can give one to a buddy in class, or I could resell it to that buddy in class, and I can walk away with 2. Okay, at $16, which ends up costing me $32, right? So it's like 1 for 25 is what I'm willing to pay, or 2, okay, for 16 a piece, okay, which is 32, right? How do I get 32? Well, it's 2 times 16, okay, which is this area here. That's okay, and so I'm going to call that my equilibrium point because I didn't know where the supply curve was, but the supply curve, maybe it looks like this. Okay. And so the supplier says, no, I don't sell one, I just sell 2. Are you willing to take 2 for 32 bucks? And we're like, well, yeah, that's only $7 more than what I was willing to pay for one. So yeah, I'm going to walk out of the store with 2, package of 2 for 32 bucks. Okay, so he made more money and I got an extra book out of the deal. Okay, so $16. Okay, so this is okay, Q times P. Now, what is my consumer surplus at 2? What's my consumer surplus at 2? Well, I would have been willing to pay more. How much more would I been willing to pay? I would have been willing to pay this much more. This is my consumer surplus. That's my CP in green. Okay, so how do I find my CP? How do I find my consumer surplus? What I would have been willing to pay? I'm going to take and I'm going to integrate, okay, from 0 to 2 of dx, okay, dx, which is x minus 6 squared, okay, with respect to x, minus, okay, q times p. Well, what was q times p? It was 2 times 16, 2 times 16, which is where I got my 32 from. Okay, so let's see. How much more money would we have been willing to pay here? Okay. So for 2 books, we would have been willing to pay more for 2 books. Okay. So not as much as for 1, but we would have been willing to pay more for 2. Okay. So what's my consumer surplus here? Consumer surplus is equal to this. Well, now let's integrate. Okay. This green is going to give me the whole area under the curve. Okay. I should include the green in that as well. That's the whole area in the curve minus, okay, minus the rectangle, which is going to give me the top part, which is the consumer surplus, which is really what I want. Okay. Okay, so let's integrate this thing. Okay, so I'm going to do a u sub. U is equal to x minus 6. Du is equal to dx. Okay, this is going to be the integral from 0 to, well, let's change the limits of integration. Well, let's not. Let's just do it normal. 0 to 2 of u squared du. This becomes u cubed over 3. Okay. Evaluated from 0 to 2, but again, we don't plug in the limits until we plug back in x, because these are limits for x, not u. So this is going to be x minus 6 cubed over 3. Okay, so let's see what this becomes. Okay, evaluated from 0 to 2. That's just the integral part. Okay. And so we're going to end up with plugging in 2 here. This is 2 minus 6 cubed over 3 minus 0 minus 6 cubed over 3. Okay. Okay. So okay, so this is going to be, yes, this is going to be negative 4 cubed over 3 minus negative 6 cubed over 3. Okay. Okay. Negative 4 cubed, that's 64 over 3. That's negative 64 over 3. This is going to be positive, or this is a negative of a negative 216 over 3. Okay. So this is going to be negative 64 over 3 plus 216 over 3. Nice. So what's 216 minus 64? Okay, 216 minus 64 is 152. So this is 152 over 3. Okay, and we'll get to what that is in a second. Okay, well that's the answer to just the area under the curve. Okay, that's the area under the curve. I want to subtract off 2 times 16. This is the area of the rectangle. So 2 times 16 is 32. So I'm going to subtract off 32 here. So at the very end, I'm going to subtract off 32. Okay, and then I can just plug this into a calculator and get my answer. 152 over 3 is that, minus 32 is 18.6. Okay, so I was willing to pay $50.67 for 2. Okay, so this is $50.67. Okay, this is how much I was willing to pay for 2 of them. However, okay, I only paid $32. Okay, minus $32. This is how much I actually paid. For 2, okay? And so there's a discrepancy here, and the difference is $18.67, okay? This is how much I would be willing to pay this much more for 2 books. Okay, I would have been willing to pay that much more for 2 books. Okay, and that's my consumer surplus. Okay, well, let's look at the producer surplus. Okay, the producer surplus here. Okay. Let's look at number 2. Okay, an art supply store sells sketch pens and its supply function yeah, I mean, yeah, it's how much we saved. Yeah, it's our savings. Yeah, it's our savings on how much we would save overall. Okay, it's kind of like an average savings for 2. Okay, so for 1, we're going to pay more for, right? And these are very like easy terms, like you know, think of it like as something like per paper clip, right? Something where it comes in like quantities, right? Like I try to make it really easy in saying, well, there's 1 or 2 or 3 items, but this really is more applicable to where you are buying stuff in quantity, right? And you're like, oh, am I willing to pay, you know, $5 for 16 ounces, or am I willing to pay, you know, $7 for, you know, what should we say? Like 25 ounces, right? So you're thinking like, you know, so when things come in different amounts, right, you're having to compare them and you're like thinking in your head, well, that's this amount per ounce. And yet I'm getting this much more for just slightly more money. So, I mean, you kind of do that in your head all the time when if you're comparing products, right? You're like, oh, this Q-tip, this number of Q-tips comes 300 to a box. The home brand of Q-tips comes $200 a box, but it's half the price. So you're like, okay, is that worth it to me? Or do I really want to go with the 300 for the name brand? And there's a lot of things that you weigh in your mind, like in a split decision, right? You're just like, your mom sends you into the store and says, hey, I need some Q-tips. Go buy me some Q-tips. And you're like, okay, well, I've got these 2 brands, right? So yeah, I mean, you can't buy toilet paper anymore. It doesn't exist again. So don't even go there. Okay. My wife, she's like, we are going toilet paperless. I'm like, what are you talking about? That is craziness. Like, how am I going to wipe my bottom? And she says, she's like, and then this thing arrives from this store, I don't know, over in some country produces these. And she says, you need to install this on our toilet. I'm like, what are you talking about here? Have you lost your freaking mind, woman? And she says, yes. And okay, so I install this thing, and I'm thinking it's a drinking fountain that goes on the toilet. And she says, no, this is not a drinking fountain for the toilet. Okay, you're disgusting. Okay. And so, yeah, so she had me install this thing, and yeah, so it's, yeah. Take a bath. Yeah, exactly. Like, take a bath. There you go. No, so it's, yeah, it's called a bidet, and it actually works. It's amazing. So it's a little butt washer for your butt. So yeah, so screw COVID. I've got a butt washer. So there you go. Okay, anyway, an art supply store sells sketch pads, and its supply curve is given by, okay, S of X is equal to 1/3 X squared plus X plus 3. Okay, 1/3 X squared plus X plus 3. Okay, find the producer surplus when the store sells 2 sketch pads. Okay, find the producer surplus when the store sells 2 sketch pads. Okay, so the supply curve generally goes up. Okay, at 0 we're at 3, which nobody's gonna sell you 0 pads for 3, but you got to start somewhere. Okay. Okay, and so, however, okay, we know, okay, so what is S of 2 going to be? Okay, where are they actually going to sell 2 of them? Okay, we have this curve here. Okay, what's the lowest that he's willing to sell 2? What's the lowest price that he's willing to sell 2 for? Okay, so at 2. So let's plug in S of 2. Okay, S of 2 is 1/3. Okay. Okay, this is 1/3 of 2 squared plus 2 plus 3. Okay. So this is going to be 4/3, which is 1 1/3. Okay, plus 5. So that's 6 1/3, which is approximately 6.33. Okay, dollars, $6.33. Okay, for 2 of them. Okay, so that's what he's willing to sell. He's willing to sell them. Okay. S of 2 is, oh, that's the, sorry, that is the price per sketchbook. This is the price per sketchbook. Okay, price per sketchbook. So $6.33 here. Okay. Okay, so I want to know what is my producer surplus. This is the amount of money that they made on top of what their bottom line was, right? This is like, this would be like below the red line would be like selling at cost, or like not making any money. But this is kind of like their profit. Think of it like their profit. You want to think of the other one as like your savings. That's fine. Think of this as like your profit, right? He's right. The cost of what he's selling, right, brings it. So, okay. So yeah. Okay. So I want to get that green area there. So we want the producer surplus. Okay, is going to be equal to the area under the curve. Okay, it's actually going to be equal to the rectangle. So this is going to be 2, the rectangle we'll put in red. Okay, 2 times 6 1/3, okay, 6.33. Okay, minus, okay, the area under the curve, 0 to 2, okay, at this function here, this s of x, which is 1/3 x squared plus x plus 3, okay, dx. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be 12 2/3. 12 2/3 minus, let's integrate this guy. Okay, so this is going to become 1/9. This is going to be, I'll color code this. This is going to be 1/9, okay, x cubed, okay, plus x squared over 2 plus 3x, integrate from 0 to 2. Okay, no u sub on that one. Okay, and so I'm going to plug in 2 for each of these. Each of these has an x, so I can just plug in the 2. I don't have to worry about the 0. So I'm going to get 12 2/3 minus, okay, this is going to be 2 to the 3rd power is 8, so that's 8/9. Put a parenthesis here because it's the whole thing that I'm subtracting. Okay, 8/9 plus, this is 4/2, which is 2. And this is 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay. So this is going to be 12 2/3 minus, this is going to be 8 8/9. 8 8/9. Okay. And at this point, I could just plug it into a calculator. Okay. So 12 plus 2 divided by 3. Oops. Other way around. 12 plus 2 divided by 3 is that guy, minus, okay, parentheses, 8 plus 8 divided by 9, close parentheses, that's 8 8/9. Okay, equals is 3.78. So this is approximately $3.78. Okay, and this is my producer surplus. Okay, difference between the price, the total paid, minus what was willing to be, what was willing to be taken. Okay, what was willing to be taken? Okay, let's find the equilibrium point for this. Okay. So what is the equilibrium point? For d of x equaling x minus 6 squared and s of x equaling 1/3 x squared plus x plus 3. So I want to know, well, where's the equilibrium point for this thing? Where do the supply and demand curves meet? Okay, where's my... Okay, where am I paying the least and getting the most? And the supplier is making the most and selling the most. Okay, for how many items am I gonna, are we gonna both walk away with the best deal here? Okay, so, and then we're gonna calculate the consumer surplus and producer surplus at this value. Okay, so before we were talking about, well, what happens at 2, right? At 2. And I'm going to tell you right now that 2 is not optimal. 2 is not optimal for both of us, for either of us. It's not optimal. Okay, 2 is not optimal. 2, okay, I'm paying too much. And at 2, this guy is making too little. Okay. I'd be willing to pay too much, which is my consumer surplus, and then my producer surplus is down here. Okay, so we're still not meeting in the middle. Okay, 2 is not optimal. Okay, we could go back and look at those numbers and see, oh yeah, you know, it's a little low. Okay, so whereas I was willing to pay what? I was willing to pay $6.33, but the dude was willing to sell it to me at no, I was willing to pay for 2. I was willing to pay $50. This was $50. $50 and 66 cents. 67 cents. Oops. Do not want to do that. Is that right? No. For at 2, I was willing to pay I was willing to pay $50. Nope. No, let's just do 16. This is 16. Okay. At 2, I was willing to pay $16 a piece for 2. Okay, whereas he was willing to sell me $6.33 for 2. Okay, so which is not optimal. I want this to meet in the middle here. Okay. So where is the optimal amount? Where is my equilibrium point? Where is my balancing point? How many sketchbooks do I need to buy so that it becomes optimal? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set these equal to each other. and solve. So I get x minus 6 squared is equal to 1/3 times x squared plus x plus 3. I'm going to FOIL this out on the left side. X minus 6 is equal to 1/3 x squared plus x plus 3. This becomes x squared minus 6x plus 36 is equal to 1/3 x squared plus x plus 3. That's 36. So this is x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to 1/3 x squared plus x plus 3. So now I want to combine like terms. Oops, too many x's there. Okay, you can do this all at once or you can do it in stages. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so if I subtract 1/3 x squared, if I subtract x and I subtract 3, I should get it to the other side. Minus 1/3 x squared minus x minus 3. Okay, this all cancels. That's what I want. I want to set that equal to 0. This becomes 2/3 x squared minus 13x, okay, plus 33. I don't like dealing with fractions, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply through by 3, okay, on both sides. Doesn't change the other side because it just goes to 0. So this is 2x squared minus 39x plus 99. Okay, and that equals 0. And this thing is actually factorable. Okay, so 2 times 99 is 198. Okay, and so I need two factors. Okay, think of 99 as 9 and 11. Right? So I need two factors that, okay, will multiply to 198 and add to negative 39. Okay, so that's going to be two negative numbers. Okay, so, okay, negative, negative 39. If I subtract off 11, if I make one of them 11 and the other one 18, does that work? Yeah, I think that's right. 18. That equals negative 39. Okay, so now I'm going to factor this. This is 2x squared minus 11x minus 18x plus 99 is equal to 0. Okay, so factor out what they have in common here. They have an x in common. So that's 2x minus 11. Factor out what they have in common here. They have a 9 in common. I'm going to factor out actually a negative 9. And I get 2x minus 11. Now I've got identical twins. And so I can factor out the twins. And I get 2x minus 11 times x minus 9, what's left over, is equal to 0. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to set these equal to 0. Okay, so 2x minus 11 is equal to 0. Oh, it's 29. Oh, okay. Thank you. I screwed up. So that's not the right way to go. Okay, so thanks. It is 29, not 39. Okay, so let's do this. 33, negative 33, and negative 6. Okay, because this is 3 and 33. Okay, so that is negative 39. Okay, good. Okay, so 2x squared minus 33x minus 6x plus 99 is equal to 0. Okay, so now let's factor out x. This is 2x minus 33. Factor out a negative 2, or sorry, negative 3. We get 2x minus 33 equal to 0. Okay. So now let's factor out these guys. 2x minus 33 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Okay. So setting this equal to 0, 2x minus 33 equals 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0, and we get x equals 3. Here, this is 2x equals 33 divided by 2, x equals 16.5. So which one do we take? Well, when we're talking about goods and services, we're going to get some sort of equilibrium point. The reason that this thing looks like this is because of our demand function. Our demand function goes down, but it also comes back up, okay, because of the parabola. And so this supply function is going to hit twice. It's going to hit here, and it's going to hit here. Well, I'm only concerned about where it hits first. Okay, I'm only concerned about it where they first cross. Okay, so we're going to take this guy here. Okay, take the first value. Okay, so x equals 3. So x equals 3 is going to give me and the supplier the best result. Okay, so what is, okay, for x equals 3, okay, what is the quantity, 3 is the quantity, well, what's the price? What's the price for 3? Well, that's d of 3 or s of 3, plug it in. Either one should give you the same price. Okay, and you can plug into both and see that, oh yeah, it's going to give me the same price because that's what we solve for. We solve for when are these two equal. So this is going to be, right, 3 minus 3, or 3 minus 6 squared, which is 9. Okay, so that's $9 a piece. Okay, at 3. And then if I did 1/3 3 squared plus 3 times, 2 times 3 plus 3, right? So, is this right? What was the supply curve? It was 1/3, oh, plus x, plus 3 plus 3. 3 plus 3. This is going to be 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is 9. Okay, so yes, it checks. Okay, the price per item, okay, or Q in this case, or sorry, P, the price per item, P, is 9 when Q equals 3. Okay, so that's my break-even point for these two curves. Okay, it occurs when my quantity is 3. So now let's look at our consumer and producer surplus. Okay, at 3. Okay, what's our consumer surplus? Consumer surplus, I'll put it in black. Here's my consumer surplus. That's in black. That's my CP. Okay, what's my producer surplus? My producer surplus, I'm going to put in green. Producer surplus is in green. That's the producer surplus. Consumer surplus should be S. Yes, and this is PS. Producer surplus is in green. Okay, and so the producer is making more, the consumer is paying less, but they're meeting right in the middle. Okay, at the equilibrium point. Okay, that's the best deal. Okay, based on the supply and demand curves. Okay, so let's calculate our consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is equal to the integral 0 to 3 of the demand curve, which is x minus 6 squared dx minus q times p. Well, what was q? Q was 9, right? Okay, 9. Or sorry, q, the quantity is 3. 3 times 9, $9 is p. Okay, so that's going to be 27. Okay, so let's integrate this. This is going to be x minus 6 cubed, okay, over 3. Okay, this is just from the previous exercise. We already know it works out like that. Okay, from 0 to 3. Okay. So I can plug this in, plug in 3. This becomes 3 minus 6 cubed over 3 minus 0 minus 6 cubed over 3. Okay, and this is minus 27. Okay, subtract off the 27. Okay, so this is going to be negative 3 cubed, which is negative 27 over 3. This is negative 6 cubed, which is, we saw was 216, negative 216 over 3. And that's minus 27. So the negative makes a positive. So I've got negative 27 over 3. Okay, plus 216 over 3. I could multiply both top and bottom by 3 here if I wanted to. And I would get, what's 3 times 27? 81. Yeah. And I would get minus 81 over 3. Okay. So what does all this become? Well, this is going to become 216 minus 27 minus 81. Okay, which is 108, I think. Yeah, 108. Okay. Yep. So that's 108 over 3, which is $36. So I would have been willing to pay an additional $36 for 3 sketchbooks. I would have been willing to pay an additional $36 for 3 sketchbooks. Okay. However, did I pay that? No, I didn't. What was the total that I did pay? Well, it was, I paid $27 for the whole thing. Okay, because I got them for $9 a piece. Okay, so I paid a total of 27. I would have been willing to pay whatever this thing is. Okay, which is, I think that comes out to 72 minus 9 is going to be 63. So I would have been willing to pay 63 for each of them, or $21 a piece. Okay, but I got them for $9 a piece. Okay, at 3. Okay, this is 63. Yeah, 36 is the total amount. Okay, so basically I would have been willing to pay $12 extra. Okay, $12 extra per book. Okay, that's how much I would have been willing to pay. Okay, but I bought 3 of them, so I got a better deal. Okay, the more I buy, the better deal I get up until a point. Okay, up until a point. Okay, so now okay, let's look at our producer surplus. How did this guy fare? Okay, the producer is going to do better as well. Okay, so the difference is that the QP goes first in this one. Okay, minus the integral from 0 to 3 of S of x dx. Okay, so remember, what was Q? Q was 3, that's the quantity. What was the price? The price is 9. Okay, for a total of $27 that I walk out of the store with. Okay. And then 0 to 3 of 1/3 x cubed plus x plus 3, right, dx. Okay, so this is minus, integrate this. This is going to be 1/9 x. Nope, that's wrong. This is squared, I think. Yeah, this is a 1/3 x squared. Yeah, so this is 1/9 x cubed plus 1/2 x squared plus 3x. Evaluate that at 3. Okay, so we get $27 minus, okay, plug in the 3. Okay, and we get 1/9 times 3 cubed, which is 27, plus 1/2 times 3 squared, which is 9, 1/2 of 9. Okay, plus 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, so 27 divided by 9, that's just 3. So this is 3 plus 4.5 plus 9. Okay, so that's 27 minus 12, 16.5, I think this is. So 27 minus 16.5, okay, is $10.50. Okay, $10.50. Okay, and that's the total. We'll say this is the profit. Profit on the 3 books. Or if we divide it by 3, okay. Okay, if we divide that by 3, what are we going to get? What's 105 divided by 3? Something. I should know this. 15 times 7, so 5 times 35. So $3.50 per book. Okay, so here's the conclusion. Okay, we bought 3 books for $27, but would have gone as high as $63. Okay, so we got $36 off. Okay, of what we were willing to pay. Okay. Okay. We were sold 3 books for $27, but would have gone as low as what? What's 27? Well, what's the price that we would have gone as low as? This amount, $16.50. I would have gone as low as $16.50 per book, or for the whole, for all of the books. Sorry, for total books. Okay, gone as low as $16.50. So I was willing to pay as high as $63. He was willing to sell me as low as $16.50. Okay, where I got a $10.50 profit. Okay, and so at equilibrium, both parties get the best deal. Okay. And that's it. That's all we're going to cover today. So you just have homework on 5.1 due next Tuesday. Okay. Yeah. So happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Stay home.